We're going to look at the automatic antenna motor and show how we can adjust the clutch. A lot of times the automatic antenna will only go about halfway down. And rather than buying an entirely new motor, there is a clutch adjustment that sometimes will cure the problem. While we're under there, we'll look and see where the motor is that runs the retractable roof. It's in the same place, and it all becomes visible when we take this one panel off. So if we open the trunk and look here, we see that there's a little piece right here, and that is actually where the piece of cable that drives the roof gets pushed into this little tube. We want to be careful not to bend that. And so if we look, there's a piece of plastic. We're going to pull this entire molding piece out of here. This normally hooks in that little tab right there, and that's the first thing that we have to do is kind of move that piece of plastic underneath that. And actually it looks like this one has been taken off because there's normally some little pop rivets that go in there, and it's been a while since I've taken these off, but as I recall they come out of here in a pretty straightforward way. So if we take that entire plastic piece out, it exposes a couple of things. It exposes this antenna motor right here, but in addition, it exposes the motor that runs the cable back and forth. There's just a cable that runs in a sheath and a little gear-driven motor right here, and the cable is driven back and forth through this tube. So when the electric roof is opened, the cable gets pushed all the way into this tube, and of course when it closes, as the cable moves forward, it moves here. And of course it's just a little geared cable that gives shoved and back and forth by this motor. You see there's a mechanical drive right here in case the thing ever sticks and the motor's not working. You can mechanically turn the little gearbox so that you can shut the roof if the electrical system fails. But what we're interested in right now is this thing. But what we want to look at is the antenna motor actually. And so if we look at this antenna motor, I've already taken the 4 screws out. You can see that there are 4 screws in this particular one. If I take the screws out, the cover comes right off, and I can make this adjustment while it's still in the car. This is the antenna motor, but it has a clutch, and the clutch nut is right here. And this nut tightens the clutch up, and what's happened over time is the clutch is just worn, and so it slips and the antenna won't go all the way up or down. But rather than buy a whole new motor, a lot of times we can correct our problem with a clutch. But the first thing we have to do, and I did this already, is if you look very, very carefully, there's a little tang, a little tab, a little lock that holds that nut. If you can find that lock, this one happens to be in the back right there. If I can point to it, this little white pointer, it's right in the back. And I've already pushed it out of position. And then what I can do is loosen or tighten this nut. Now if I want to back away on the clutch, I turn it counterclockwise. This one was really not out of adjustment. I was just showing the process. But if you back it away, that loosens the clutch. We really want to do that. We want to tighten the clutch. But if you loosen it up, you can see that it'll turn by hand. And finally it'll get so loose that it's real easy to turn with my fingers. What I want to do, the proper position for it, is hand tight as a minimum, and then I usually turn it 1 or 2 of the hex things with a pair of pliers after that, just to get it tight enough to where it won't slip. So I got it sort of hand tight, and then I'll put it to that position. And then it's very easy to go with a pair of pliers and just pull that tab back in the locked position so that the nut doesn't move, and that's it. Just put the cover back on, and we're finished with the adjustment. Oh, well, we might illustrate how it works. Let's keep the video camera on it, and let's go turn the thing on and watch it go up and down. So when it's adjusted tightly, when the clutch is tight, then the antenna won't slip or it'll come all the way down and up, and frequently that's the nature of this problem. So that finishes that adjustment. We'll just put the cover back on and we're finished.